This is the Space Wolf army set, and it contains 20 assault intercessors, 3 Thunderwolf cavalry, 2 heroes, and 3 extremely good boys. And I want to give these bad boys the love that they deserve. But without turning this project like many others into one of those, hey, look at me, I did this in 24 freaking hours. Instead, I want to paint something that's truly awesome. Every part is painted to perfection, and most importantly, making sure that we have the best looking color scheme in the 41st millennium. Let's talk a bit about the bases. Look, we're all guilty of doing this. Bringing out the sand, the texture paint, and then boom, we have a finished base. But if you truly want your army to stand out, even the basic troops, you have to treat the base as it's part of the story that you're telling with your army. But in all honesty, you can't really have a Space Wolf army without adding them on snow bases. That's just the way it is, Steve. Deal with it. And to make the best looking snow bases that you've ever seen, I think it's time for... Thank you, people, you're way too kind. And for today's show, we have something truly special, cooking. See what I did there? Because it's a cooking show. I'm so goddamn clever. Alright, people, moving on. To make the godliest tiered, the bestest of the best, the frostiest of frostings bases for your Space Wolf, you will need the following ingredients:
bark, glue, baking powder, white paint, primer, imagination.
Let's start simple. We're gonna prep our bark just like we're prepping a nice Thanksgiving turkey. Now that's gonna sit in the oven at a lovely 70 degrees for about 2 days until we get rid of all of the nasty little buggers, kill all of the bacteria, unless you want Nurgles rot in your own base. And now for the crown jewel of any perfect snow base, the snow. Keeping it old school just like grandma, only using products that we have at home.
Whoa!
What's happening, Lucas?
I have no idea. It decided to die and start living at the same time. So now we stir. And now it's just a matter of stirring and stirring and stirring right until you get that perfect, fluffy, snowy consistency. But wait, I hear your inner Steve raging already because you're all like, oh, but Lucas, won't the snow turn yellow like Papa Nurgle has peed in it? I have a simple solution for this. You simply bring out the white paint and add a couple of droplets into your mixture, and boom, it will stay white forever. People, we now got our bark baked, we've got our snow mixture, and it's time for the most important step, just like any good old cooking show, the assembly. Okay, we have everything we need from the bases, and now next problem is up. The paint scheme, Steve. You can't forget about the painting. I turned it Italian after the cooking show. Finding a unique paint scheme for your armies can sometimes be a bit tricky if you try to follow the lore and all of the already set colors for the different Warhammer factions. But it's not impossible. If we break down the Space Wolves, we know that they have grey armor, just like they're supposed to have in the lore. What is this? James Workshop. Do you want your stocks to fail? What is this? This is baby blue. Is it baby marines? Or is it badass freaking Viking warriors? They have grey armor. Now that we know that they have gray armor, I really want to keep that true. But in the end, I'm gonna try to make it my own and fit my style more than the Games Workshop box arts. So my idea for this army and the paint scheme will be that the army is marching on in this winter landscape, climbing up this hill. They have the sun setting in the background, creating this warm light reflecting on the back of the minis, facing off in the distance where they have the moon shining this cool blue light on the minis. I think this will really create a nice contrast for the army. You will have the warm and the cold, and overall it will allow me to keep the simple colors of the gray armor and the yellow details, but still make it my own. So let's get to painting. Okay peeps, it is time for me to start using the airbrush, adding the first couple of layers of paint. And I'm gonna start off by shooting dark sea blue on the front of all the minis. So without further ado, let's get to painting. And now it's just a matter of doing the exact same thing using Evil Red. When painting the front, what we do is mix some deck tan and black and start adding as a first highlight using the airbrush, making sure that we stay super deliberate and as precise as humanly possible when we apply this, making sure to only highlight it from the front. For the back, we mix deck tan, black and hot orange until we reach this color. Then doing the same as on the front, adding this as a first highlight. Then moving on to the second highlight of the back, we bring out hot orange and shoot this in an ever so slightly smaller area than the first highlight. I am done with the airbrush, which means it's finally time to bring out the brush. And for this step, I'm gonna use deck tan and light flesh and maybe a little bit of black in the front to establish the highlights. So now, cut to me painting and making it look awesome. This is the stage where most armies die. Because suddenly you're sitting there and you have the task of painting 20 freaking minis the same freaking way. Which means you're sitting there with a melting brain. Using deck tan, I can now move on and start highlighting all of the front parts. Now this is a game of patience. This will separate the strong from the weak, the space marines from the orcs. And yes, Steve, that is a perfect analogy. Just shut the fuck up. To increase the brightness and move on with our highlights, we can start introducing some light flesh to the deck tan and working our way up. Making sure that the brighter we go, we focus it further and further up on the mini, closer to the light source. That in this case is the moon slightly from the front and above. And while I finish off painting the last highlights of the minis, let's talk about this week's sponsor, Squarespace. And by now, you guys should know it that we've been using Squarespace all these years to create our amazing website. It's the easiest tool to help you create the best looking website you could ever have, because Squarespace has combined their over 2 decades of knowledge in design, creating their very own design intelligence, which will guide you through the entire process of making your website. And I know that you, right there, you're looking into having your very own side hustle. Just by following the link squarespace.com/Squidmar, you can try out building your website for free in a matter of minutes. And then when you have that awesome looking website and you feel ready to start your next project, just enter the code Squidmar to get 10% off your entire purchase of a website and a domain. And let's start the next step in this video. Now, once we've reached full light flesh in some areas, we need to tackle the back. Yes, Steve, we're painting the back of the minis now. I know that you guys sometimes love giving us slack for not always putting a lot of effort in the back of the miniatures. But today is all about spending that extra time, so without further ado, to increase the brightness of our highlights, instead of using light flesh like we did on the front of the miniature, we'll want a warm tone for the back. So we bring out our sunny skin tone and start adding more and more to our mix, applying this just the same way as we did on the front. Okay peeps, so I have just finished painting the warm light and the cold light on the armor. So moving on, I think I'll head on to painting all of the yellow shoulder pads and the knee pads. Because you can't have Space Wolves without the yellow details. Because gray and yellow, that's Space Wolves. For every part of the miniatures for this army, we'll have to take into consideration the warm and the cool light. And when it comes to painting the yellow, that means that we'll have to use a few different paints. Japanese uniform, moon yellow, parasite brown, sun yellow, sunny skin tone, and light flesh. So for all of the parts that's facing forward, we'll start off by covering them with Japanese uniform. Then for all of the parts facing backwards, we add some parasite brown. And in the area between the layers, we mix parasite brown and Japanese uniform 50-50 and fill out the gap. Now, to highlight the front-facing parts, we keep it super simple. I start by applying some clean moon yellow on the shoulder pads, then blending between the moon yellow and Japanese uniform by mixing the paints until we reach a smooth blend. And finishing off with a small dot of light flesh right in the center of the topmost highlight. Now for the warm highlights, we mix parasite brown, sun yellow and some sunny skin tone until we reach this color. Adding this as one highlight to the back, making sure that it's in the same angle as the highlights we did previously on the armor. I have to move on to painting all of the details. So I think I'm gonna start off by blocking out all of the areas that will be like painted with browns. So it might be leather, gold, skin, and all the furry bits on the pelts. So using dark rust, I think I'm gonna go out and cover all of that, which is gonna be a lot. So wish me all of the luck. Wow. And if you want to see how we paint gold NMM, check out the video we made on Squidly Bits on just how we tackle painting gold. And just like with any gold NMM, I'm using the same techniques, just switching out the parasite brown for Japanese uniform to achieve a more cold look. Now it's all just a matter of giving these bad boys the best looking weapons, the best fur and the best faces that you've ever seen. And just like always, all of the paints used in this entire video can all be found in our 4 amazing paint sets that we released alongside Vallejo. So while I finish off the remaining parts of the army, let's crank up the best freaking 80s montage you've ever seen. Now, once everything is painted, it's finally time to go back to the bases. This is where the minis will actually start looking more alive and everything we've done so far start looking like they belong in this universe. Now, we want this to go as fast as possible, so we bring out some light flesh, black, and mix it until we reach a bright gray. And slap this on as a heavy dry brush on every single rock. And on the back, you mix a bit of that orange with the black and do the same thing. Now we can bring out the lovely snow mixture that we made earlier and apply this to pretty much the entire bases, almost sculpting to fill out the areas where the rock meet the base. You guys are quite clever, and you know that snow isn't always just pure white. It can sometimes be yellow. However, if we want the snow to feel real on this army, we need to treat it like any other surface, like fabric, like wood, or any other rock that you can find in nature. Meaning that light hits it, shadows will be cast, and depending on the tone of the light, the snow will change color. It's not just one uniform white mass, like it's right now on the army. So, to achieve this, we'll use inks and some matte varnish. To tackle the back of the snow, we'll bring out the Chameleon Orange Express Paint. Here we start off by super carefully shooting some orange ink in the snow, letting it leak ever so slightly. With this one, we want to tint the surface of the snow more rather than just adding it in the shadows. In the front, we bring out the dark turquoise ink and dilute it slightly with some airbrush thinner, and then we can add 1 or 2 drops of ultra matte varnish to not get a glossy finish on the snow. Now we make sure to shoot this from below, adding this in the shadow to all of the snow that's facing forward. Then the final thing is just to add some black paint to all of the rims of the bases. Now this isn't a Golden Demon entry, it's still just a Warhammer army. But by simply just spending a little bit more time on the bases, making sure that we have good lighting, polishing that finish to the next level, it really becomes more than just the sum of its parts. So I really hope that this project inspired you to up your next army project, or heck, maybe just add some bark in the oven and bake it for 70 degrees in a couple of days. But with that said, I think it's finally time for a grand reveal! As always, a massive thanks to our amazing Patreons. Without you guys, we could never do crazy videos like this, especially these amazing top donors. You guys are literally the best. And a huge thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now there you have it, folks. From bark to glory, from glue to goo, the Space Wolves have never looked as frosty. Now, until next time, folks, stay frosty, keep hobbying, and for the love of Steve's mom, don't eat the terrain.